Hi, this video is for those who are struggling to figure out what their soul's purpose is actually supposed to be. In this video, I will share with you a couple of reasons why you actually may be struggling with trying to figure out what your soul actually wants you to do and why you're actually here. And at the end, I'll share with you something that you can do to shift one of them so that you don't fall into these holes. The first one is that subconsciously you know that your soul's purpose is outside of your comfort zone. And maybe you know what your soul's calling is, and even that's outside your comfort zone. Maybe you've gotten hits about doing things, and those things you go, I don't think I can do that. That's not right for me. That's not who I am. But your soul knows who you really are, and who you have been all of this life is not necessarily who you're supposed to be. And we get stuck in this merry-go-round of I feel my soul calling me, but I don't know what it is. And when it shows itself to you, we like poo-poo it. It's like, I can't do that. That's so out of my comfort zone. It would require me to do things that are outside my comfort zone. I'm not comfortable with that. That cannot be right. Please show me something else I can do for my soul's calling that is more comfortable to me, that might seem easier to do, more in my wheelhouse. And I have struggled with this through my journey, and this is doing video. This is something a lot of us struggle with, this idea of getting on camera and having to talk, having to present ourselves, having to make sales, talking to people about what we actually do, and making those connections. Some people don't have a problem with that, but a lot of us do. It makes us vulnerable. It makes us feel like we're not safe, and we're afraid to share our vision, our ideas. And then we just kind of go, no. When I was in high school, we used to have to do public speaking. I hated it. I was the person behind the podium who was glued to the side of it, shaking like a leaf, sweating bullets, watching the time click on the clock, because I had to do it for like, say, 10 minutes. And time went by so slowly. So when SOAR said to me, you need to start doing videos, I turned around and said, no, I can't do that. No. Like, I've had so many things with confidence. I was 5'8" when I was 10, which really leads this in and why I don't feel comfortable being in front of people, because I always felt like I stood out and I was always trying to blend in so people didn't see that I was so much taller than all the other girls. But when it came time to grow my business, I kept being shown that I needed to do video, but I was so afraid to do it because of the experiences that I had in high school, because of the times I was made fun of for the fact that I stood out and I didn't belong, or I didn't have anything to say. So I just kept delaying and delaying and delaying and delaying, hoping that there was something else or another way I could do my soul's purpose and calling that didn't involve video. Well, here I am, right? And there wasn't. And here's the shocking thing about this, okay? I love doing video. I love being on stage with a microphone. It lights me up in a way I can't even tell you. I can totally feel my higher self and everything come through. And just because I had those experiences in high school, I was so limiting myself in this very tiny box because I was afraid to experience and relive the trauma that I had as a child in high school with this public speaking. And I have friends as well as clients who have done the same thing. I have a friend who she does podcasts, and she's great at it, but she was so afraid to hear her voice taped that she delayed it for months, even though she knew her soul was calling her to do a podcast. That's another problem that we have. If you have a problem with hearing your own voice, that may also be something that's preventing you from doing video. I watch my videos over and I have no problem listening to my voice now. But I know that I had a big problem with it when I was younger. I hated the sound of my voice. I hated when people recorded it. And I had to work on why that was. And now I have no problem. Zero. This is who I am. This is my voice. I own it. But if your soul's purpose requires you to do something that you're not comfortable with, or it's outside your comfort zone, you may be unknowingly, subconsciously, saying that you don't know your soul's purpose because you don't want to have to face that fear. And you might be aware of what this is, or you may not. So ask yourself, does my soul's purpose challenge my comfort zone? And again, you can use any number of tools to do this. You can muscle test with your fingers, you can muscle test with your body, you can use a pendulum, you can use dowsing rods, whatever the way is that works for you to muscle test. You can ask, does my soul's purpose require me to get outside my comfort zone? And then if it does, you can ask, you start to lean into, okay, what is it? Is it because I'm afraid of having to do something? I'm afraid of, you can use this as an example. I'm afraid to talk to people. I'm afraid of being vulnerable. I'm afraid of showing my true self to others. There are many things that can come up from this, and most of them coming from your childhood. So that is one of the reasons why I see, not just with my clients, but with myself, and what delayed me in starting my soul's purpose. Now, and just a caveat on that before I go to number 2, we think our soul's purpose is one thing. There's one thing I should be doing as a soul's purpose. And I will tell you from my journey for the last 10 years, it's not one thing. They would say, go do this. My soul would go do this. And I thought that was it. That I was going to do energy healing with this healing modality that I started with 10 years ago. And that was going to be it. And I loved it. Well, I'm not doing that energy healing modality anymore. Not because there's anything wrong with it. I've just grown out of it. Because that was the foundation for me to remember the energy healing modality that I had learned in other lifetimes and was able to bring forward. Because that was a stepping stone. Your soul's journey is not the result, or the soul's calling is not the result. It's the entire journey. From this moment that you're in right now, you can lean into your soul's purpose and do that one step. And then that one step will then show itself what the next step is. If you asked me 10 years ago what I would be doing now, I would have laughed at you because I did not have the confidence in myself to believe that I could have what I have now and or what I'm building. So you have to be willing to not only go out of your comfort zone from a skill perspective, learning new things, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable. You have to know that your soul's calling is literally multiple things and not just one thing. It was my soul's calling to start this journey with that energy healing modality. And when it was done, I was guided to go to the next stop on my soul's calling. I've been doing that for X number of years. But then there's other things that have come up, like doing video, being on stage. Those are all things that started to craft itself once I went all in on my soul's purpose and committed to riding it to conclusion, whatever that looks like, and however long it takes. So many of us never start because we're waiting to know the exact thing. And that exact thing is not going to be shown to you. That's not how your soul's purpose works. Many people know that they're here to help people. Okay? What are you passionate about and how to help people? Start. When you start, it will start to put itself together. But you can't wait and think that your soul's purpose is just one thing. It's not. It's like a stationary. It's like a, I don't want to say it's divided, but it's steps. I did the healing modality. I have my own healing modality now. I started to do video on YouTube, doing things on stage. I wrote a book, a self-help book in 2015. Never in a million years thought I would write a book. And where I am now with where my business is going and the things that I'm being shown to move into are not things that I would ever thought I would do because they're not in my comfort zone. Entirely not in my comfort zone. So ask if you are like stuck in your comfort zone, but also ask if it's because you want to know the whole picture, that you want to know the exact soul's purpose, the end result, instead of allowing yourself to experience the process of discovering your soul's purpose by starting with the direction and the first step on that journey with your soul. The second thing is, maybe it's 2 and that was 1A and 1B, but this is 2. Afraid of disappointing people doing things that are edgy. And this is something potentially from your childhood. And you might think, oh, I'm good with that. But if your inner child has trauma around this, it will stop you like slamming on the brake in a car. Because being vulnerable and potentially disappointing people is a huge block for your inner child. If you're an empath, this can be 10 times worse. As a child, the gifts that you're supposed to use on this soul's calling or soul's purpose, you used as a child, maybe very, very, very young, and then didn't anymore for a number of reasons. And now you're afraid to use those same talents again, and know that the trauma might be so deep that you don't remember this. Again, you can ask the pendulum. If something happened to you when you were a child that made it seem unsafe for you to use your gifts, your psychic gifts, or your innate abilities and talents, you will keep hunting for another soul's calling because that soul calling isn't safe because you have to use those gifts that you have trauma from. So an example for me is that when I was, God, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I don't really know. I was in a energy session with a friend, and she was doing energy work on me, and she said to me, do you hear voices? And only because she was a friend did I admit to her that I did. I have heard those voices my whole life. And I've hid it from people. Why? Because they tell you that if you hear voices, you're crazy. You're like Lulu in the head. So I not only never told anybody, I denied it and I denied it and I denied it and denied it and denied it and denied it and denied it. So eventually it just became like this, it just disappeared. I didn't really hear it anymore. I would only hear it now and then. It wasn't like a constant thing. Because I literally beat it out of myself because of the experiences I had as a child where it wasn't safe to say that you heard voices. And it isn't even my parents, movies, poltergeist, all the things that taught us that having those types of gifts are evil or scary or not accepted. So we operate, your inner child will operate from this place where I can't do anything that's going to disappoint people or scare people. But many of us have soul callings that we're here to change the world, to rock the boat. And that means that you have to use those talents or gifts. Just recently, I found out that I had an incident with my parents. I was very young. I was shown very, very young, where we had one of these play kitchen sets, with the fake food, the plastic, like hot dogs and eggs and stuff. And my parents were in the room and they asked me to like, who are you talking to? Because I was having a grand old time playing by myself. And I said, I'm talking to God. And they never even said anything. It was the look on their faces. The disappointment, the fear. And in that moment, I shut it off. And they showed me images of me laying in bed, trying to block that voice out, try to pretend it's there, convince myself it's evil so I wouldn't pay attention to it. So when we get to this point in our lives where we're supposed to be living our soul's purpose or answering our soul's calling, it can be hard because it's asking us to explore areas of our gifts and abilities that we have trauma from at a young age that isn't safe. So in our subconscious won't let us understand what our soul's purpose is because it would require you to use those gifts that you have shut off because of some trauma that you had as a child. Or maybe it was just watching all those lovely video movies like Poltergeist that made you afraid of your own gifts. When I started to do this energy healing modality, you're supposed to watch the results happening. And at that point, when I would close my eyes, I would see nothing but darkness. But I was clairaudient. I could hear. At that point, I knew I could hear. And as I have worked through myself, doing my own inner work, practicing the energy healing modality, the one I used to do, plus the one I do now, my psychic senses are like, I see so much when I close my eyes now, and I understand what I'm seeing. And like, I have all segments of that, and we're all the psychic senses, and we all do. It's just that we've blocked it somewhere. So that's number 2. Are you afraid subconsciously, you're not necessarily aware of this, afraid of disappointing somebody who is important in your life? So this could be parents, partners, kids, friends, by admitting that your soul's purpose does something that you don't think that they would embrace. That would be woo-woo, or would be crazy thinking. Especially if you're somebody who's a visionary, that's normal. There's been many visionaries in our lifetime that have visions of, like, say, airplanes and cars, and they thought that they were nuts too, but yet here we are. So you have to look at that. The third one is you don't feel worthy of it. I know that you might think, but what? And again, when we talk about these things, the disappointment, the comfort zone, they are more than likely in your subconscious mind, and you don't even know they are there. So very much some part of you may not feel worthy of the success or the money or the praise you might get if you were able to be successful at your soul's purpose. And that will hold you back. You will sabotage yourself until the pigs fly. You will just keep creating more and more stories, beliefs, like a factory, to keep yourself from being able to have the success or the money or the fun, the empowerment, the abundance, the joy of it, because you don't feel worthy of having it, or you don't feel worthy of the money, or you don't feel that it is safe to have that. And you'll sabotage it by saying to yourself that I don't know what it is, so I'm just going to keep searching for it. And then you just get stuck in this rut because you're not actually looking at why you can't find it. And by the way, if you keep telling yourself you can't find it, that you don't know your soul's purpose, you will just manifest proof of that all day long until the cows come home. Because your words and the thoughts that you have create your reality in every moment. So if you're struggling with finding your soul's purpose, stop saying that. Just say, I haven't figured it out yet, but I know I will. It's an entirely different energy, and that actually may be enough to start shifting things. But ask, do I feel worthy of what my true calling is? Do I feel worthy of the results of actually doing it? Or do I have subconscious beliefs, stories, or thought patterns that are preventing me from being all in on doing my thing, doing what I came here for, what source assigned me? And once you release those, you'll start to see that the mystery of your soul's purpose or calling has been all around you all along. You just couldn't see it, because by seeing it, you would have to do it. And then you would produce these feelings of unworthiness, of the success, or even having it. So look at that. Your soul's purpose or calling is not hard to find. It's literally been written into your whole life. You just haven't been able to see that it's been there all along, because we're not told to see this. But if we have subconscious things like being unworthy, or I don't know enough, or I'm not worthy of the money it will bring me, you won't find it. You'll just do circles around it like in a drain. You just go round and round and round and round and round. And that just builds frustration. You get angry at yourself. Maybe you're angry at the world. But the real reason is because something inside of you is preventing you from being able to connect the dots, for you to be able to see what your soul's calling actually is, and for you to start. Number 4. This is one that I have discovered recently, and it's fascinating to me. A lot of times your soul's calling involves something that you were made fun of for as a kid, or punished for as a kid. Now, in the last thing I said, your soul's purpose and calling has been weaved into this whole life. It's not really a mystery. It's there. It's just where you don't know that it's there because you don't see it that way. But as you start saying, I'm committed to my soul's purpose, and I'm going to start doing the things, I'm just going to start something, you'll start to see how those pieces fit together, and how your higher self has woven what your soul's calling is into this life, but you just couldn't see it. So in hindsight, you'll be like, oh, now I get it. And this one is fascinating, because one of the things when I ask some of my clients is like, what did you get in trouble with when you were in school? And many of them say, talking too much. Well, because that is more than likely part of what your soul's calling is that you're supposed to speak somehow. Maybe it's doing video on YouTube. Maybe you're supposed to be on stage doing like talks. Maybe you're supposed to, be talking about teaching, right? But because you were punished for it, you assumed that was not the thing that you're supposed to do. But the thing is that with this whole discovering your soul's purpose and calling, sometimes your higher self will use events to highlight certain things about yourself. And when we're kids, we take them as negative, but they're actually almost like pulling out like little segments of your life so that you can see them. And they're easy to remember. When you're punished for something, for like talking too much, you remember that. And those things are like clues in understanding what you're supposed to be doing. What you're supposed to be teaching, what you're supposed to be doing talks on videos, that might require some exploration. But if you even look at it from different angles, you will see that too is there. So my discovery with this was, I think it's been like a year and a half now. I'm not really sure. I was in meditation. I was not looking for any information for myself. I was just kind of floating in the energy. It just feels amazing sometimes. And I heard out of the blue, you're supposed to write stories. And I was really taken aback by that. I was like, what do you mean I'm supposed to write stories? And that voice repeated it. You're supposed to write stories. That's what your soul's calling is. And I thought, I sat up and I thought, I can't write stories. What are you on, like, forget it. Talking about the comfort zone thing. It brought up all kinds of that. Why? When I was a kid, I was a daydreamer. 9 times out of 10 was not in class. I was somewhere else in my brain. I was in imaginary worlds, and I was making up stories. And I would get caught a lot and get in trouble for the fact that I wasn't paying attention in class. One incident, it was snowing and I was staring outside the window and just lost in what I find to be very hypnotizing is snow. And the teacher was 5th grade. The teacher pulled my desk to the windows. She made me sit and she told me that I had to sit and count snowflakes for the day. Everyone in the classroom was laughing at me. I was embarrassed. And then to make it worse, at the end of the day, she asked in front of the class how many snowflakes actually counted. And I looked at her like she had 10 heads. I was like, I certainly did not do that. So from those experiences and others, which I'll get into in a moment, I saw daydreaming as a bad thing. The other part of this is I was really good at math and science and I sucked at English. Anything to do with English, okay? When I was in 8th grade, they put me in the highest math class so I could take algebra. And I was in the bottom reading group. So I got all this messaging my whole life that I'm not good enough to do anything involved with any type of English, writing, spelling, grammar, reading, and that daydreaming was bad. So all of my life, I've never looked there. I never looked to see if that was part of my purpose because I was told as a young age that I wasn't good at that. How could something I wasn't good at be something that I'm actually supposed to do? And this is where you have to really start to think about those things. What did you get in trouble for? And now, obviously, if you got in trouble for punching someone, that's more than likely not part of your purpose. But for things like that are innocent, I wonder, like, if a teacher had said to me in the daydreaming, like, you should write down what you're seeing in your head or draw it or something, I'd be in a different place than I am now. Or if they treated me different with this whole math science thing. So in January of 2024, I started to write a book, fantasy fiction. And I struggled with it for a while. I tried to take some classes on creative writing because I've never done any of this stuff. I mean, I've taken courses and understand the hero's journey from some digital media stuff I've taken in the past, but from a writing perspective, had no clue. And I heard just sit and write, and I did. I sat and write for 11 months. Now, into editing, remembering 5th grade grammar has not been fun. Thank you, ChatGPT, so I can at least understand some basics before I get an editor. But these events of things that you were punished for because they were different, or that you weren't being a good student, or that you suck at one subject versus another. Those are all signs that your higher self has actually left you for you to be able to see the things that you're supposed to be doing. And I know that may seem like, what? Like, why would that happen? It's because it's easy to remember. There are things that you can go back. I can still see myself sitting in that classroom, in that desk, watching the snow fall from the sky while the kids behind me laughed at me. Now, that was a tough year for me. 5th grade was tough. I grew 6 inches in the summer between 4th and 5th grade. When I entered 5th grade, I was 5'8". So I already had issues. I was already being made fun of. Jolly Green Giant, giraffe, all wonderful things. I didn't fit in a desk. I was far taller than the teacher. So then all of a sudden the teacher's like shaming me for daydreaming. Which, if you think about it, most visionaries are daydreamers. Henry Ford daydreamed about the car. I don't know who invented the airplane, but you get it. They daydreamed about that, and then they made it a reality because they explored it. So, were there things that you got in trouble for in school that came naturally to you? They're not the things that you necessarily struggled with. Now, I have in this story 2 things, right? Like I was good at daydreaming, but not so good at English. And I'll actually tell you something about why I wasn't good at English. I wasn't bad at spelling or any of that, or even grammar. It was the reading that I really struggled with. Being in the bottom reading group and having really bad reading comprehension was not something I was comfortable with. Being in, they put me in these top classes and I would get advanced math, and then I'd be in the bottom reading group. Didn't really help me, but I'm an avid reader now. Like, I'm reading 3 or 4 books at a time. Normally. One is like helping me grow spiritually, remembering more of myself, understanding ancient Egypt. I read a lot of stuff about ancient Egypt, but I also read fiction. It's just fun, but I also learn things from that as well. So what changed? Well, because I hated the books that they made us read. The Scarlet Letter, I think I read the first 5 pages like 10 times before I finally just gave up because I couldn't retain it. Because I had no interest in reading those books. They were not at all what my soul wanted to read. But look at those things that you enjoyed in school and maybe got in trouble for, or the things that you struggled with can actually be part of your soul's calling. And number 5 is you're afraid to make a mistake. I know you're like, what do you mean afraid to make a mistake? Afraid to start off wrong. We live in a society based on goals. But the thing with your soul's purpose and calling is you cannot put it in that structure. It doesn't work that way. Your soul's calling or purpose is the journey to the unknown. So you need to lean into that. Goal making is not part of the soul's calling. It's not that you can't envision a reality that involves the soul's calling. It's the whole beliefs and thought patterns and stories around goals that could prevent you from actually doing what your soul is calling you to do, because we expect that soul's calling to come with a guidebook. I'm supposed to do this, but I don't know how. Source, show me how to do it. And it's just not how it works. You will just perpetuate yourself and be stuck where you are because you're unwilling to take a risk and just step into that first thing that source or your higher self is showing you to do, that will start the journey of you not just remembering your soul's calling, but being in the energy of it. And as I've explained in the other part of in the beginning of the video, my soul's calling has been multiple things. It has not been one thing. I started with that energy healing modality, which I did for years. I have my own now. And now I'm doing YouTube, and I'm exploring doing other types of content. And now I'm writing a fantasy fiction book. Those are all part of my soul's calling. It's not just one thing. But I would have never known that this is where it was going if I hadn't started. And I see so many clients, people who waste so much time because they're unwilling to take that first step, that inspired action step, the one that excites you, not the one that you think you should do, but the one that excites you, and then unwilling to see what source then shows you to do next. If you don't start, it will never happen. If you are waiting for a guidebook to tell you this is how you open a wellness center. I know a lot of people have this idea about opening a wellness center. Okay, well, what can you do that would be fun about that? Maybe it's drawing out a floor plan, thinking about the services, talking to people about, what real estate is available where you are. You start to be in the energy of that soul's calling, and it starts to manifest itself around you, the right people, the resources to do it, the right place, the creativity just flows because you're in the energy of soul's calling. But if you stand outside of it going, I don't know what it is, I don't know what to do, I think I want to do this, but I don't know how. You keep yourself separate from it, and you're never in that energy of it, so it never feels like it's happening. So even if, actually, I take that back. you're not going to know what your soul's calling is. Exactly. Meaning you're only going to be given that first step. And then through that first step will lead to another step, and then a next, and a next, and a next. And all of that is your soul's calling. Your soul's calling is not one thing. If you think you're supposed to be here to help people, what lights you up about that? What makes you passionate about that? How can you then use that in some way? I have all kinds of stories I could share with y'all about how this all weaved together for me, but it would be a very long video. and how once you start to get and move in and commit to your higher self and source, I'm ready for my soul's purpose. What is an inspired action I can take? You will start to see how it's always been there. You just didn't give yourself permission to see it, potentially for any of these reasons. But if you really want to know what that is, you have to lean in. Do the thing that you feel called to, and just play with it. Your soul's calling is about play, exploration, discovery, about yourself. It's part of your soul's growth and your awakening, your ascension. It's all part of that. But it won't happen to you until you are ready to commit to it yourself and admit that even though you may not know exactly what it looks like now, I am ready to step into what I do know now. And I want to help people. So I'm going to do it in the way that lights me up. And by doing that will lead you to the right person, or resources will come for something else, or you'll be guided to take another class that then will lead you to other things. Or you might decide to open a retail shop. And by committing that and starting to put that in process, Source will start to deliver all the products you need for it, the connections that you need for it, the customers, all of the things, because you have committed to your soul's calling. But again, I find a lot of people just stand on the waiting line on the sideline because they don't know exactly what their soul's purpose is, so they don't move. Because they don't know the full picture. And that's a lot of programming from more than likely your inner child, potentially from school, but also your parents. It could also be past life, where you've been taught that it's not safe, that you've taken risks before and it hasn't worked for you. But if you don't heal those, you'll just keep yourself there. If you're waiting for a guidebook, I tell you it's not coming. In order for me to get to where I am today, I had to lean in. I had to trust. I had to be willing to explore, do things that are outside my comfort zone, and be okay with that. Your soul's calling is there. Let it show yourself. Let it show itself. Let yourself see the possibility of it. Imagine it. Ask Source, your higher self, to show you or to guide you to the first inspired step or action you can take in order to enter the energy of your soul's calling so it can start to manifest in your life. I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about your soul's purpose or you can relate to this, put a comment below. Your soul's purpose and calling matters. The world needs you in whatever way you came here for. Every one of us does. And it's time to stop waiting. It's time to step into that soul's calling and really be able to have that level of fulfillment and to have the success that comes with it. But it starts with you committing to yourself and saying, I'm ready, show me. And be willing to take sometimes what look like little teeny baby steps, but doing them knowing that you will get there, that it will all figure itself out. So if you struggle with this, drop me a comment. If you agree with this, drop me a comment. If you have a question about this, drop me a comment. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.